Okay, well, all that being said here, what do you have to get out of the session? Understanding of what my weaknesses are in order to refine my gameplay. Well, now we know what's more an accurate, more picture of what you need to work on. 4 to 5 days per week, 2 to 4 hours. Yes. Identify critical flaws. Create good habits. Now, what do you mean good Overwatch habits? You're talking about the stuff that, like I was telling you to take breaks. Is that kind of like a good Overwatch habit that you're looking for?
That's
or just in-game stuff?
Mentality stuff, in-game stuff like positioning, when to take off angles, when to play aggressively, things like that. Because I feel like I want to be more of a 1v9 player. Right now, I feel like I'm way too dependent on coordination with my team and playing off of my team. Because back when I played with a stack, I would usually play flex DPS, and I'd play like, Mei, Sombra, Widow, and I would play off my team. But I'm mostly solo queuing now, and so I'm trying to develop more habits to become more of like a 1v9 carry, and actually like solo climb up to my rank instead of having to rely on coin flipping if my team can play with me or not.
Sure. Well, I mean, the key thing is just to do your job, right? To get value no matter what you do, and then just over the course of a certain portion of games, you'll be able to carry some, you'll be able to carry, won't be able to carry some, but you'll be able to win more than you lose, and then that's how you rank up. So for you, is this, you said you stacked previous to this?
Yeah, back when, like whenever I hit Masters, like season 4, I was stacking a lot.
Okay. Well, it might have been at that point in time that you're relying more on like your synergy and your communication with your duo. And now you just have to do your job, and that you don't bring anything to the table communication-wise or synergy-wise. And so you just really need to understand what kind of value you can get out of your character. So to me, that's going to be the number one thing. And then moving on from there, mental is definitely a problem. Tilting, soft throwing. Is that mostly to do with the rank entitlement? Or is there anything else that ties in with that?
Very slightly, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's partially rank entitlement, but it's also a lot of, if I'm just getting plastered, it really starts to fuck with like my confidence, and I start getting frustrated. Like if I'm just getting turbo gapped and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing, I get really, really agitated. And then of course, like a lot of this season so far, I've been noticing a lot of disparity with like tanks. I try not to blame my team for my losses, but it's very frustrating when I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing if my tank is getting turbo canyoned.
Makes sense. Okay, so it's just gonna be about personal responsibility more than anything else, and understanding what you need to be doing better. There's nothing more frustrating than not knowing what you need to be doing, and then ultimately, all your attention goes on to like what other people are doing wrong, right, rather than what yourself. So that's gonna be the big priority. Okay, 7 hours per sleep on average could be better. That's obviously a big priority, especially for DPS players, simply because reaction speed and quick decision making is super, super important. So if that could be better, that would be great. That's something that I know is difficult for a lot of folks, but even just small improvements over a long period of time adds up. That would be my recommendation. If you could get 7 hours and 15 freaking minutes and make that a habit for a week, like that's 2 hours more of sleep per week. That adds up. That's going to help your decision making. It's going to help your emotions. That's going to help your reaction speed. It's going to allow you to learn new skills faster as well. For example, this coaching session, you will remember more of what we talk about in the moment if you get a good night's sleep after a session. So just keep that in mind.
Gotcha.
In terms of anything else here, we can just get into gameplay right here. I don't have anything else from your form. Just want to look at some codes.
Oh yeah, I posted them in the chat.
Got it. Which one do you want to start with here?
We can start with the 4W.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that was a new Queen Street code.
Right, sounds good. Okay, we are in. You are the Sojourn, yeah.
On red.
Right.
So this was the longer of the two games for sure. I feel like this was a lot more of a closer match.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a lot of gameplay here. Nice. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, it's just I felt like I was very high highs, low lows in this match. But I know just from like in the game, like I knew I was doing a lot of things wrong. I just didn't know what I was doing wrong. Like I felt like I could have definitely been doing better. It's just identifying what I should be doing better is kind of where I
Makes
struggle.
sense. Makes sense. Now, an interesting thing to note here is that there's 2 characters that you're playing in this game that are not on your list of hero pool, at least when you fill out the form.
Yes, so I flex a lot. I have my main that I usually start with and play the most, but I'm comfortable playing pretty much every DPS, and I'll swap based on what's needed.
Sure. That's good in terms of like finding the best pick for the situation, but that relies on 2 things. Number one, that you don't have any gaps mechanically or cooldown or muscle memory, like you were able to perform every single character at a high level, and also that you're making the right swap for the right situation. Which obviously we could talk about that, but the most important thing that I can tell you is that this is something that will keep you engaged, but it might not be the most efficient way to rank up. If you're playing Sojourn, Soldier, Widowmaker, Ashe, Cassidy, Symmetra, whatever, you're going to be splitting a lot of your time up onto different unique mechanical signatures, where knowing how to utilize Sojourn, Rail, and Disruptor Shot, and knowing some of the different techs with Sojourn, and then Soldier, and then Widow, and the Symmetra, and Mei, and even how they position themselves is pretty significantly different. So I don't discourage you from switching around. Just understand that you might want to remove the periphery, remove the outliers. Like if you are playing 7 different characters in a season, okay, make it 6, right? Make it 5. Put more hours into fewer heroes. One of the things that I recommend is something called a dynamic hero pool, where you might shift your hero pool depending on the meta. So like right now, like let's say you played a lot of Tracer, Mei, Soldier, because you think those heroes are good. And then the meta shifts, so there's a hot fix 3 or 4 weeks from now, or 2 weeks or whatever. And then you pivot to off of Tracer onto Widowmaker, because they giga buffed Widowmaker or something like that. That's fine too. It doesn't have to be you're locked in a hero pool for a month. It could be a locked in hero pool for 2 weeks. That's fine. That gives you at least time to be able to develop your skills at those individual characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Use that as you will. You don't have to necessarily 1 trick, 2 trick, or even 3 trick, but just that's my general guidelines, so interpret that as you will. That being said, we'll take a look at all the characters you play here. So Sojourn, what is Sojourn good at? What are you trying to accomplish with this character?
So I think Sojourn's really good at applying pressure with her projectile, her M1 or whatever it's called, and then lining up for good picks with her rail once it's charged. Because you can put good pressure on tank and on DPS approaching off angles by just hitting your shots, and then rail can line up for good picks. It's just reliable damage. With pick potential.
Sounds good. Got a lot of mobility for hit scan, and that's going to be probably the number one thing you're going to be looking to leverage. This because when you compare yourself to Hanzo, Widowmaker, or whatever, it's that slide right there that allows you to take so many angles that other hit scans would not be able to take, essentially. Okay, let's keep rolling here. I mean, obviously, not a whole lot to say here. You guys are kind of rolling at the moment.
Biggest thing is I'm never sure. Like, whenever I'm playing super out like that, like when I was dueling the Hanzo, and I'm playing like way the fuck in the open, I never know if that's actually correct or if I should just be playing a lot more passively. Because I know that I can survive the one tap now because the HP pool changes, but like I'm just kind of sitting in the open, going ban for ban with the Hanzo, and I take a shot and I get down to kill range and I slide out. But I never know if that's like actually the optimal play or if it works out just because I can aim better than him.
As long as he can't one tap you and that there's no follow up damage, then it's okay, right?
Okay.
The big thing is that as long as you're like within 0.5 seconds away from getting to cover, then you're okay. Now, Sojourn has actually received one of the more significant changes since the change, right? The Season 9 stuff. Yep. And that is you're changing the way that you're approaching your kill. It used to be back in the day, you'd either just rely off of damage boosted rail, and there's your one shot, right? But nowadays, you actually need to put, or even just one bullet into the rail, essentially was your one shot. But nowadays, you actually need to put a couple of shots into the target first. Now, there's 2 different ways of looking at that. One is that you lose, oh no, I lose my one shot. I don't get my one shot anymore. Like if I start to shoot this Genji, land a couple of shots, he's just going to duck behind cover and not even let me get the one shot. That is true. Yes. However, that you still have that indirect value out of scaring the people that you're looking at. For example, if I shoot at this Genji a couple times, he's going to be in one-shot territory. Because of that, he's going to get scared and he's going to duck and hide. Well, now that he's hiding, he's no longer contributing damage onto my Rhine shield or positioning or taking an off angle or damaging my team. And so now they're playing 4v5 even though he's not dead. So
because just having rail creates almost like a zoning.
Pretty much. So what you're going to find in Season 9 as Sojourn, you're going to be finding yourself holding rail more because you're not going to be able to, hit 1 bullet rail anymore. You're going to need to hit 4 bullets or 5 bullets for you to be able to one-shot somebody with rail. And during that time of you landing those 4 or 5 shots, that target might respect you and hide. If that's the case, keep holding the rail, find another target to scare. So basically, you're just playing duck, duck, goose, duck, duck, tapping different squishies until one of those squishies does not give you enough respect, and then you get your opportunity for a one-shot goose.
Gotcha.
So that's essentially what you're trying to do. Obviously, it's a little bit annoying, but the good news is that while that's annoying, your primary fire is much easier to hit than it used to be because of the projectile changes. Whereas before, it was terrible at medium to long ranges. Now it's not great, but it's a lot better. This kind of stuff is what you'd never, ever want to do. Right?
Just firing the rail off like that for free?
Just firing the rail off for free because you don't really know what HP he's at. He's basically full. Even if you headshot him now, the delay between you having to rail and then M1 again will give him opportunity to duck behind cover there. And then you lose the kill. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I just kind of instinctively tossed it because I know I hit him with the disruptor there when he jumped over the wall. But
Sure.
I think I need to get better at controlling myself and like holding rail for when it's actually needed.
And that's it, exactly. Because to me, even if you did hit the rail headshot here, it still wouldn't have been enough to kill him, right? He still would have had time to get behind cover. And that's really, really unfortunate. So just give yourself the time to aim with rail. And because you're giving yourself the time to aim for the head with rail, you're also allowing yourself to make the decision about when you actually need to rail better. Yep, it's fine. Find an angle here. This angle is definitely awkward, but there's not really a great angle available. The only thing I would say here is don't extend yourself, right?
So the only reason I chose to overextend here is because I know that if I played hallway and they pushed me, I only had one real place to disengage from, and that was back where I came. But here, I can jump off, and I actually have more area to play on. I think the ulti was a little goofy, but I did have a reason for overextending there.
Sure. The only problem that I have with this here is that when you overextend, you're extending into a location where you don't have cover. So even though you're like, I can disengage this way, right? If this Hanzo's even halfway decent, you're dead right here.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Right. So it's not so much that like, this is too close. It's the fact that it's too naked. So here it's like, yes, you didn't really have anywhere to go, but at least you had cover. You could have extended this way or slid back this way and retaken your angle this way. I agree there's not really a good angle, but that one wasn't it.
Okay.
I would just say in general here, we'll slow it down here. Just relax with the rails a little bit, especially the first few here and then the last few. So right here. Relax just a little bit on those shots there. Just because you weren't even fully charged, I don't think, when you shot. So right here. Yeah, you're not even quite fully shot or charged, excuse me. So you might as well give yourself the chance to aim for an extra 1/10 of a second,
Okay.
Just relax. Okay.
So I know before, whenever they made the nerfs to Sojourn to get rid of her one shot and they adjusted her rail, that a lot of people found that the better play was instead of letting it charge to full and going for headshots, it was just better to spam your rail during ulti as fast as possible and just gut shots into people. Is that still the play, or are you wanting to let it charge up to full?
You will. The optimal way to squeeze out your DPS is to get a couple of shots during the rail charge. So you're doing your primary fire between while the rail is charging up, just a couple of shots and then railing, and a couple of shots and then railing, and a couple of shots and railing.
Okay.
That's the optimal DPS thing. The reason why I tell most people to slow it down is because most people's problem is not the amount of DPS that they're putting out, but the amount of shots that they're missing. So when I tell you to slow down, it's not because you can maximize your DPS, but because you can maximize your DPS by hitting your shots.
Actually landing the shots. Yeah.
Right. So when you're just blindly doing this, you're not really actually putting any, not thought, because you don't think when you aim. You're not putting any control.
Yeah.
Into your shots.
It's kind of Hail Marying.
Right. And even stuff like this here, like this disruptor shot is not bad, but everything's kind of just panicking right here. And so like you just kind of threw it, right? You just kind of threw it. And I don't want Sojourn to be a character for you with your rail or with your disruptor shot, or even with your positioning where you're just playing, right?
I think I'm thinking it halfway through, but I'm not full committing to understanding what I'm doing, because the disruptor shot, the intention was there. I know I was disruptor shotting so that when the Mercy disengages, she has to walk through it. But at the same time, I know looking back on it, there's an infinitely better usage of disruptor shot there than just tossing it into the choke.
Exactly. And that's the key thing for me here. It's what we want to do is with I would say 80%, not 80%, I would say 75% of your practice. This is important. 75% of your practice games, I want to be very thoughtful, very cognitive, very engaged, very focused on what you need to be practicing. 25% of your games, I want to be a little like this, where you're just playing and you're not thinking at all. That way you have an opportunity to kind of apply what you've been practicing. But we need to find that balance, right? Most people play 95% of their games just playing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been struggling with, is I feel like I'm on autopilot so often. I don't...
Exactly. And autopilot is not bad. Autopilot is, I think, our truest expression of skill, right? That's exactly how good we are when we're not thinking, is how good you are, period. And also there's people out there, and one of the mistakes that I made when I first started playing and coaching is I felt like 100% of games you should be thinking. Not really. I think there's benefit to having a certain percentage of games, 20, 25%, where you are just playing, just to play, allowing yourself to apply what you know. There's even been scientific studies that giving yourself the ability to try and just apply what you're learning without thinking is good. It helps you to learn a little bit faster. But anyway, long story short, for here, like whether it's your slide, your disruptor shot, or your rail, I want stuff to be more often cognizant, more often engaged, if that makes sense. And obviously, what we're thinking about depends on what your goals are going to that game. Okay. We'll just snowball this. Okay, let's talk about this. We're out. Stuff like this, right? Like there's an idea behind this disruptor shot, but if you gave it half, like you said, it's half cooked, right? If you gave it a half a second more, you would go, wait a second, what am I really railing there, right? What am I really railing or disrupting there? Excuse me. And even this, right? Like look at this railgun here. Analyzing it at 0.25, what do you see? Your charge.
I mean, I'm just tossing damage in.
Yeah,
it's really
right. 55 rail charge and almost a full HP target. Zero chance that gets a kill, even with a full headshot, right? And then now, there's a delay between you shooting again and so on. So it makes no sense at that point.
And I think a lot of it too is just really, really, like, I understand the HP pools have changed, but I haven't really internalized the breakpoints as much as I have with like season 8 and prior. Because like season 8 and prior, I knew exactly how much damage I needed to do, and I could, you
could feel it almost.
Shot rail a full HP target, one tap them, and not even have to think about it. But now I'm finding myself confused. A lot of people are living with like 1 HP, and I think it's just giving myself time to really internalize the breakpoints and internalize the HP differences. And getting used to it.
Right. We want to accelerate that process from being a natural process to something that we can force along a little bit by you specifically thinking about that. Like you go into a game and your entire focus is when should I rail? Mm-hmm. And then along from that, also allowing yourself to like slow down the process of railing so that you're actually aiming properly. And then also some games being on what am I using my disruptor shot for, right? I think stuff like that's going to have big payouts for you long term. Even if it slows down your game in the moment, you'll actually have more of a reasoning, more logic behind what you do. That's another one, right? 85 charge there. That's one of those break points, right? Where even if you rail this, maybe in the old days this would have been enough because technically he'd lost what 54 HP. If he was 146 HP, would a 85, 82 rail kill him? I think so. Yeah, I think it would actually. That would have been a break point right there in Overwatch 2 Season 8, right?
Yeah.
Not now. Not now. It's not enough. Okay. Sure. I think it could also be a little bit more proactive with the angle that you're taking as well, considering the characters that you're playing. So, for example, like right now, you're playing Sojourn essentially, but you're playing her a little bit like not a Widowmaker exactly, but like you don't need. Right, you don't necessarily need to be so scared of the angle that you could take. Like, considering the fact that you have a slide, what angle could you take here?
I mean, I could probably take left of cart and walk under that tunnel and actually get a better angle on the Ana.
Yeah. You are unpunishable from this position by anybody. So yeah, take it.
Yeah, I feel like I just ping pong back and forth between taking extremely over aggressive angles and taking really, really like scared angles.
Or not even taking an angle at all, like right now, right? This is right. So, but yeah, 100%. Case in point, a little bit. Okay. Like even here, you're sliding in, but like what you could just do the exact same thing here without a slide and actually have a much safer off angle. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean it's just too close. It's too close.
Yeah.
It's obviously no slide, so then you're vulnerable to blade. It's a great example of what you just said, where it's like it's too aggressive, I guess would be a way to say about it. It's too close. And then at other times you weren't even taking an off angle at all. Let's actually I want to wrap up the Sojourn stuff right now so that we can actually move on to Widow and then Mei, and then maybe we can take a look at a little bit at your second code, depending on how much time we have. So let's get some goals for Sojourn. What are some goals, points of practice for Sojourn specifically?
Discipline with rail for sure.
With rail, practice the break points, and slow down. Yeah, slow down the mechanics, especially in old. Positioning more proactive on angles with slide, but not inting in as much. Take soft or hard angles. Use slide as get out of jail free card.
Honestly, right? I don't think the rest of this clip is going to be anything. Like, it's going to be a lot of me holding a singular angle with a Widow and then playing Mei for overtime hold. So if we want to move to the second clip.
Yeah, we could do the second clip. Also, I'll throw in Disruptor Shot as well. Disruptor Shot, same level of thought and application.
Because I definitely want to get better at Sojourn. I think I've never been able to play her. And then like end of last season, something randomly clicked and I was actually hitting my rails a lot more. And I decided I really wanted to commit to actually improving with the character.
Sure.
So I think that's...
So remember that I think the key thing here is that we want you to slow things down a lot and put a lot more thought, but you're not going to stay there forever, right? Ultimately, like you will move on, you'll improve, but we want you to slow things down until things become more natural for you, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So here's how you might practice your Sojourn. Let me give you an example. Tomorrow, you're going to go in a ranked, and for the entire day, you're going to practice your railgun. Think about like, okay, what HP? When should I be railing? Like, what are the break points here? And you're gonna be slowing things down. You're gonna mess up your position. You're gonna mess up your disruptor shots. You might even rush your rails during ult, but it doesn't matter because you're just focusing on break points. Just break points. What are the break points? When do I need to be railing? When do I not be railing? You could also do that for 2 or 3 games, and then the next 2 or 3 games tomorrow, do some positioning work. Just think about like, what off angle should I hold? What off angle should I hold? You're gonna do that for a couple of days, 2 or 3, maybe 4 days, where you have a mixture of positioning work, a mixture of disruptor shot work, trying to set the goal every game to be thinking about what disruptor shot or rail break points and so on. And then once you feel like, okay, I've done 3 or 4 days of this, then I want you to have either an entire day or at least several games where you don't practice anything. You just play. And you just kind of feel how things are going. And then you do it again next week. And you do it again and again and again. So making small, tiny little improvements every day that you practice Maybe not even playing that well because you're so busy thinking about your rail that you might mess up a lot of stupid stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's the general approach. Make sense?
Yeah.
And then you can interpret that as you like. I generally like practicing one thing per day. But some people do like one thing per game. Some people do like one thing per week. It's however you'd like to do it. It's totally up to you. Whatever prevents you from being bored or overwhelmed. Find that balance. Okay. Do you want to look at Cass here?
Yeah, I think this is a Sojourn Cass entirely.
Basically just Cass after the first fight here. So we can take a look at some Cass here. So, okay. Any questions with any of the Sojourn stuff?
No, I think it's just refining my mechanics, getting my positioning down. So a lot of practice.
Okay, let's take a look here. So, Cassidy, anything that you've been working on recently with Cassidy? Anything that strikes you as being a problem with Cassidy? Anything you want to look at with Cassidy, or just generally just take a look?
My biggest issue with Cass mostly is my aim has just been so inconsistent. But positioning, I mean, for the most part, because I played a ton of Cass in the previous seasons, like outside of a couple outliers where I just get a little bit too zesty with it and I walk in too aggressive, for the most part, my positioning's pretty good. It's just my aim and then actually getting my magnetic nade to fucking land on the target.
Yeah, okay. Aim consistency. I'm going to give you something to watch, which talks about that so that we can be efficient with your time.
Because I feel like with a lot of like Sojourn, Kree, Widow, things like that, where it's a lot of high damage flick almost type, I get really like excited, I get really caught up, I get really stressed, and I start rushing my shots and I start like over flicking and then just getting a little crazy with it.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance between just staying relaxed but not being too slow, not overthinking it. One of the biggest things that you could do with your mechanics is just kind of go into it and just trust yourself to hit the shots. And then trying to, if you have specific mechanical bad habits, like crosshair placement, for example, over flicking, that's definitely something that you could put a little bit of effort in fixing. But ultimately, there's no, besides a couple of bad habits. Yeah, it's just mostly just practice and really getting out of your own head. You know, you don't want to be thinking about shots. You just want to shoot, because when you're thinking, you're adding an extra step in your brain that's going to slow things down. And especially for hit scan, because it is so important that you basically have a snapshot in your brain of where they're going to be and then immediately put your crosshair there. It's very punishing for you to be slowing down that process, because you will miss the more you slow down the process. And that's why confidence and aim is so important, is because confidence removes that thought. It just trusts that you're going to hit the shot, and then that's all there is to it. So if we have any moments in here that like I see anything major mechanically, I'll let you know. But yeah, okay, let's take a look here. But mag grenades as well. Okay. Reaper on the flank here. Good mag grenade. Good roll. Only thing I would say here is if you see them taking an engagement here, my first response would not be to necessarily walk forward, but to be immediately finding the offing of where you can position yourself. So if you see them committing here, where would you rotate to? Where can you rotate to?
I mean, I could either just walk back or I could just drop down.
Sure, either one is fine. You could even roll off to the side here sooner rather than later. I mean, it's a good knife from her, and she is going to get punished for it, in theory. But yeah, that was just one of those moments where,
because I didn't see anyone else walking out, so I thought I had another second or so, and I figured we had enough damage that I could just burst her down, which is why I walked forward. I guess like part of it was like, I know you said one of your videos, like walking closer to guarantee you hit the shot because you don't trust your aim enough.
Yeah.
And then of course the lamp comes out, and I already knew I was dead. So
right. You might as well die at that point, maybe get the kill. But yeah, I think just here, just being way to open your angle off to the side instead of walking forward is going to be it's just a small thing. I don't think that fight was mostly your fault. Like if we look at this here, this is pretty funny. I don't even know what your Zarya was doing.
Playing Overwatch.
I don't even know what your Zenyatta was doing. I don't know what your team was doing overall. But yeah, I think that was an avoidable death from you for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I find this season is my death count is so insanely. Even in games I'm winning, my death count is insane, and I don't know if it's I'm griefing or what the issue is. Like that death was like a grief for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that you have this tendency to press W in situations when you don't need to. Maybe your cover discipline is bad. We'll probably have a pretty good idea from this VOD here. Like, actually, right here. First off,
side instead of walking choke.
Yeah, first off, that mag grenade is griefing because it just doesn't do anything. It's tickle damage. And the reason why it's so griefing now is as this fight starts, right, you need a tool to win a duel so that you can take an angle like this. You see this?
Oh, because the reason I tossed nade there is because I know it's just chip damage. But I figured my nade, I kind of knew that my nade would be back up by the time I actually needed it. Looking at their heroes, like the only nade target I really need is Mercy Sojourn. Because
that's free damage, though.
Yeah,
free damage. You know, it's free damage. It's the threat of it. The big thing here is that you think that you're gonna have it by the time the fight starts, but the answer is clearly, obviously not, because we're here now, and the us not having this is a big factor why taking an angle like this might feel scary, because we would want that insurance. But I want you opening an angle. This character is really bad at this range now, as you probably know.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily want to get all up in their face necessarily, but you at least want the threat of this off angle here. And even versus something with a damage boost and mercy, if you have your roll, if you have your mag grenade, you could at least scare the pants off of them, and without not necessarily dying every time. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. See, you're too scared here. You're too scared here. I know. I understand that you're scared, and I understand why you're scared. But you have your mag grenade. You have your roll. Do it. Just do it briefly. Throw it. Fish for a pick. Headshot. Throw it. Headshot. Roll back.
Because my concern is they have Lamp still. They have Sojourn and they have Mercy all sitting up in that corner.
Sure.
I push that. I'm getting one tap.
Maybe not though. If you have your cooldown. If you have whatever cooldown that you need, roll on. Maybe this is worth the risk. See, for you have to understand as DPS is risk versus reward.
Mm-hmm.
When you stand here and roll into a Junker Queen or move into a Junker Queen this way, the risk is high, the reward is low. You're not making things better for yourself. When you stand here as Cassidy, there is a risk you disrupt a shot. There's a risk you get railed. There's a risk you get knifed. There's a risk that you get bap clipped or anything else, right? And then the reward for you is very low.
I think the other part of the reason I'm afraid to push is because the last game, I know that Sojourn and Mercy are a duo. So the last game I played against them, it was really difficult to actually dive them and get value off of it. So I think that's one of the reasons I don't want to push, and then I just wanted to feed there and die because I know the point.
I get it. But to me, it's like I don't even know that I necessarily push this, but I certainly wouldn't have thrown my mag grenade, and I would have at least scouted and seen, maybe scared them a little bit. Just see what they do. Just see what they do. Like again, it's risk versus reward. Your job is to play short, medium range and to assassinate people. You're one of the best characters in Overwatch 2 at doing that. So at least having that threat there is really important. And so far, you've not really threatened that.
Yeah.
It's not about, oh, did I die or am I going to die for this? It's, am I going to get the reward for the risk, even if I die?
I couldn't hear the Reaper.
Yeah.
Walking left side, and then by the time I could hear him, I was already kind of getting...
Yeah, I mean, but that being said, I mean, this is why you have mag grenade, right? Like, this fight is still, in theory, winnable because your mag grenade was good or you had your mag grenade, right? You see this? Like, yeah. that was a really good mag grenade. Now, obviously, you needed to react to that faster. We would have loved for you to react to that faster, but hey, we'll take what we can get. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Don't do this.
Yeah. It's... I don't know where the habit came from either, because I never used to just Hail Mary my nades like that.
Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. Beautiful. Good. Nice job. Nice clicks. Okay. I want you to get in the mindset of I'm going to be a threat on short angles, medium angles. Preferably with my cooldowns. Nice. And you're covered. Like, this is fine. But at some point here, you're going to want to take a different angle. You might be crouching up here and hiding here and just listening and waiting. You might be rotating out to this here and looking for this rotation through this here for a 3-tap or 2-tap, right? You might be sitting here with your Baptiste, letting them come to the choke and opening up through here. You might even be sitting with your Zarya here, but rotating out this way and letting them come through and kind of like patiently going here. You kind of see what I'm saying?
I need to get my ego back because I'm so afraid. I think that's randomly one of my biggest downfalls because I never used to be afraid. I used to ego take every angle.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I just need to develop the mentality of I win these.
I would say develop an educated ego is the way to look at it.
They're not to blind run in 1v5.
You're going to win here's what it is. You're going to win every 60-40. That's the way to look at it. Like if you have your cooldowns and you're playing cover, I'm going to win that duel. I don't care who it is. That's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
You know? So what you don't do is you don't frontline. You don't waste your Magnet. You don't waste your roll. You don't stand out in the open. You don't walk point blank into a Junkrat or a Reaper or a Roadhog, but you go, if I have an advantage in this duel, I will win it. That's the idea. It's like you want to create advantageous duels with smart cooldown usage and smart positioning, and then have the confidence that you're going to win them. Like right now, this is really, really, really stupid. Why? What do you know?
I know that Reaper's there. I can hear the JQ shooting, which means I'm probably going to get shouted on. And
you know
down.
She's here, right? So this is not a fair duel. So don't have an ego about this. What should you do instead?
Roll back point, rotate around.
Roll back point, rotate away, right? This is silly. And either you die for that, or even just as bad,
concede point.
You lose, right? You give up point, lose an off angle because you could have been a harassing here, tickle, tickle, roll away, tickle, 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 been like really stalled this out and maybe even gotten a kill, but not here. Not here. And now you're totally out of position. Panic mag grenade again. That's a good angle, but you don't have mag grenades, so it doesn't matter. And now you're dead. You see?
Yeah.
With the information you give, what's the proper angle? And then don't just throw your mag grenade for no reason. Those are going to be the keys for you.
Yeah, my mag grenades are a little fucking goofy.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Okay. See, this is ego. This is educated ego, right? Educated ego. Who has the advantage at this range?
Oh, me for sure.
Right? He's by himself. You have cover. You have your cooldowns. Let's go. There's this Wraith. That was oh my gosh, you make up for it though. What was this?
Yeah, okay.
Woof.
I don't understand mag grenade. I swear that hits me if I'm that Sojourn.
Yeah, but you got to have better than bronze level mechanics with this ability. Because the other thing too as well, like you need to make sure that you're utilizing this tech here as well. Because you talked to me about like what's the value of mag grenade. You know, it's literally free damage because, I mean, you probably know this, but it's a good reminder. It doesn't affect your fire rate.
Yeah.
Right? So you should be aiming at the target and just like tapping E whenever you want to. So if I'm just dueling the Sojourn here, I'm not like aiming my mag grenade differently or pausing to. No, I'm just going, I'm just full autoing, you know what I'm saying? Or semi-auto or whatever. Like that's all what I want you to be thinking about. So, aim the mag grenade like it's shot because you're going to be continuing to shoot. That's the wrong map. What am I doing? Tell I'm distracted here. Okay, it was New Junk City, right?
Yeah.
A week ago. Picking out from the archives here. Okay, and yeah, here. Well, we'll enjoy this nice clip though, nonetheless. Nice. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's okay. It's a good play. Good play. Any questions so far, by the way?
No, I think it's definitely opening my eyes to my fucking mag grenade skills.
Yeah. It's funny that you knew it was an issue, but the solution to the issue is like just don't throw them randomly like rotten fruit or like actually aim them. Like this. It's the easiest coaching session of my life. Okay, and this is where we have like okay, so you got to be really smart with this. First off, you're a little ahead of your team here, so be aware of that. Second off, be really cautious here with your cover. Nice. This is silly though. This is silly.
Yeah,
this
because
is
I'm getting crossfired. I think
you're getting crossfired. Your team is not.
I think
with
I
you,
dodge roll back here to play ram for cover. Yeah.
but then you cost your
force
lamb,
cooldowns,
right? So let's say that you approach this fight entirely differently. First off, you're aware that you are ahead of your almost entire team besides your Genji. Your Zarya is still coming from the other point. She's not there yet. What should you do? Where should you go?
I struggle so much on this part of the map because the angles are so fucking weird. I feel like, do I just stay low ground and wait for them to peek me? Because I can't really walk right side.
Like here?
Yeah, like if I play in that
Sure.
cubby there and
Sure.
I just wait for the Sojourn, because here the Sojourn. I know her. She's
Sure.
walking
Low
right
risk,
side.
low reward. They at some point they're gonna have to touch point, and then you have a pretty good angle on the point, and you have cover here. You're around your team. Yeah, that's the low risk, low reward play. That and by the way, that's fine. That is a low risk, low reward is good. Playing you're still holding an angle. You still got cover and so on. This is something that you're probably not aware of, but you need to be aware of.
Yeah, I don't ever take that angle. I don't know why.
This is saucy right here. See, this is where you can really kill this target, right? Then
sure.
you don't get crossfired. You can roll back to the mini health pack. You have cover and so on. The problem here is this is like, I would say, low reward, high risk, right?
I think if anything here, I should have just walked back once because her slide's out, which means she's not going to be able to play super aggressive.
Yep.
But instead, I try to ego peek because I think part of that was just mental because I was tilted that this Sojourn has been kicking my ass for the past 2 games.
This is a mess. Oh my days. Good high noon though, but oh my goodness, you guys got bailed out with ultimates. This is some of the positioning of all time. I'll put it that way. But it's, it's not particularly complicated stuff. It's like simultaneously like not creative enough, like not aggressive enough, and just feeding at the same time. You see, this is why I always get tilted when people are like, oh, I play too aggressive. What does that even mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, what does aggressive mean? It was this position that you had here aggressive? Is this more aggressive?
Extension.
Right, careless overextension is what we're talking about. This is super aggressive, but it's logical, it's calculated, it's high risk, high reward. It's good cover, it's a good flank, it's sneaky, right? And there's cover, right? There's nothing here. This isn't aggressive. This is just dumb.
It's just the easy way.
It's just dumb, right? It's the easy way to play because it's the most direct approach. And so even with Cassidy, it kind of goes back to that Sojourn mindset where like it's engaging your brain to treat every team fight like a puzzle that needs to be solved in the pre-fight. So as you're walking up, what is the positioning that I want to take for this fight? And then once you're there, just shoot. That's it. Set the stage to where you can just focus on mechanics. You know what I'm saying? But you have to do that by positioning yourself well.
For sure.
Okay. Yeah. Because like even here, like, okay, you have information here. What do you do?
I mean, I have 2 options. I can either play with my team left side for the push, because I mean, I don't know what ultis they have, because I don't think at that time I was tracking any ultis. I don't remember because this game was like a week or so ago.
Don't worry about the ults. We're not there yet.
Or I could play right side and I could try to cut off the Sojourn Mercy by playing around that tunnel there on the right side and playing that wall for cover.
Or here?
No, a little farther back. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the play. Here. Just because to help your team, it'd be a rotation that's too far. So just take the duel. Now, do not take the duel here because this is not a fair fight, right? Remember, we have the ego, but it's an educated ego. This would be an uneducated, stupid ego, right?
Yeah.
But if you think that you can take a 2v1 here, I believe you. I don't know why I believe you, but I do believe you. But because you're taking the angle with cover, with cooldowns, at a range that favors your hero and not hers, right? So this is fine. I don't mind this.
I think at that point I'm pinging Sojourn because I know she's there.
Right. But see, the problem here, this is the problem here.
But I'm getting cross-sectioned by Zarya and Terra team
pretty
walking
much,
left side.
Pretty much. And you're performing mechanically well here. Headshot, right? Body shot, right? This is useful, but this is not what your character's good at, right?
If range is too far.
Right. So at that point, you just pray, you turn your back to her, you duck in your cover here and like actually focus these guys down or focus this guy down or something because you're not going to be able to contribute here. So stop trying.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So either take the duel over here when you had the opportunity or just hide and just avoid them and just play gank squad over here. Because, hey, you're pretty good at that, right? And there you go.
Yeah.
You had no chance. Like, even though you looked at that, gave it your respect, you died to it instead of just hiding from it and giving value over here. Does that make sense?
No, for sure. I think I'm just in the habit of playing lazy because I expect my aim to just carry me instead of actually like putting thought into my decisions both in and out of the fight.
Right. And you see there that even though your aim wasn't bad, it still wasn't good enough for you to be able to win that fight. I mean, I don't know if it was possible for you. I think you would have had to headshot that Sojourn 4 times in a row.
Unless I toggle on, she's not dying.
Right. And even then, it's like, I think she would have just slid to cover and then ulted, and then you would have died anyway. So, okay. Educated ego on. Where are we going to go? We're going to go right, or we're going to go left? We're going to contest this 2v1. Don't do it yet. Okay, we're going to rotate now. Yep. Don't stand here. Keep closing the distance. Cover to cover, right? Like you got to be like a SWAT team. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be up here. Okay, then drop, roll to here, and then be sneaky here. Make her think about you. Make her go, is he going to peek that, right? Waste, because it's a mercy Sojourn. Like there's 2 resources for 1. But you see what you're doing? You're egoing it stupidly. Worthless. I wouldn't even be shooting here. It's not worth your time.
I was trying to rotate to the pillar, but I got caught on the doorway, which made me take like half my HP and damage. It was just shitty movement.
Okay. There's our favorite mag grenade. And then this is.
And then at this point, I'm just getting pushed.
Yeah, it's GG's. Okay.
This was just brain off.
I mean, it was fine. It was just like trying to clutch a lost fight. Like it was whatever. Your mag grenade again, kind of. I will point out that again though with your mag grenade. Look at your mag grenade.
I'm like trying to lead my shot.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to like lead it here. I mean, actually, I think it's all right. I think it was all right. I won't overthink that one. The fact that you put any sort of effort into that one is like, we'll give you a gold star. Don't do it. It's just not worth your time. Roll to here, and then we're cooking. Right? Or avoid her if you're like, I don't want to contest the mercy because there's nowhere I can get close to her. Okay, then fine. Then just roll away. Yeah, there you go. Now if that mag grenade hits, you win this duel.
For sure.
I think, okay, you know what? You got scammed.
That's what I'm saying.
You got this is the one I will be on your side here. You definitely got scammed. I want to see this. Like this is like the absolute. That should stick. That should stick.
Give me stun grenade back from Watch 1.
Nice high noon. Really, really good. Oh,
I thought someone else would shoot the lamp, so I kept putting shots in the mercy.
That's okay. We don't care. It was a good play. You win the fight. It was a good high noon. Okay. All right. So
I remember this fight being really weird. Or this point, I mean.
This is fine. Please don't mag grenade. Because you got to think of it this way, too. So you're holding an angle.
Pushes me.
Yeah, if Genji pushes you, right? Like, how much advantage do you get out of this here? He's deflecting. He's bubbling. Why are you mag grenading?
Yeah.
Meaningless damage. By the way, what you're doing here, at least you were initially by holding this angle, was fine. You're choosing not to contest the Sojourn Mercy. That's cool. You can contest the Genji, whatever, off angle over here. You're still playing to your range with cover and so on. I don't like your rotation back this way as much. Case in point, right? Play here instead. This is going to be a better off angle. More cover.
I just wanted to, because I saw that they were dipping into that window there. I wanted to hold a little bit more aggressive on points so I could keep taking shots on them walking into that.
But you could still keep shot because at some point they have to walk forward. And then even then, if you want to do something like this, that's an option too.
Okay.
You see this? I understand why you're here. It just ends up being a spot right next to your tank and also not particularly anywhere near cover either. So it's just, it gets you caught. I understand your logic there though. Okay. Sure. The only thing I'd say here is just a tad early-ish, potentially. Like, you often are peeking ahead of your tank just a little bit, which is giving yourself away. It's not bad. Be aware of that. Killing me with a mag grenade. Talked about that. And then we're peeking this here when instead, to be honest with you, I'm not even joking. Roll here, set up and wait, crouch, and peek this here.
Mm.
There you go. There you go. This is kind of the right idea here. Just not here. You need to be a playmaker. You need to be a playmaker. It's so weird to see you be so passive with the angles that you take, and yet so absolutely brain dead feeding sometimes, right? Like you said, it's like finding that balance, right? Where I want more ego with the angles that you take, but again, educated ego, right? Think about it. Okay, when would be a good time to peak this? Okay, I probably should have my mag grenade and my roll in. I need to make sure that my tank's engaged. Okay, let's go 3, 2, 1, peak now. Go for it, right? But what ends up happening inevitably is that you W key forward and you end up standing in the open, and then you randomly throw your mag grenade, and then you don't actually control an angle, and then now you're dead. Right? Yeah. Inevitably. Okay, let's take some notes with Cassidy as well. And I think that the nice thing about Cassidy too is that I guarantee that the stuff feels in some way similar to Sojourn, which is good because we're getting to like fundamental system, habits with your DPS. So what needs to be improved with your Cassidy?
100% nade usage.
And
then more aggressive
use
angles.
It to win the duels. Don't just throw it. More aggro, creative angle setups that play to your range and are timed well. Educated ego equals off angle with cover, timed well with CDs. Right? Take an angle, medium to short range, depending on the comp, with your mag grenade and roll. When your tank is pushing, you are a major problem for the enemy team. And even if they hard focus you down, you roll away and you mag grenade, you hit your shots, and then 4 people focus you down and you die, you will probably win the majority of those fights because it was timed well and it was expensive. Remember, the risk and reward ratio is what we want balanced out. If you take something risky, I want a good reward for it. Not, I was just standing in the open and getting nothing out of it. Make sense?
For sure.
Okay, you have any questions?
DPS overall, just as a role, if your tank is just getting beyond gapped and you can't really rely on them to create space for you to play around.
Yep.
How are you supposed to play? Because I feel like it's so difficult for me when I'm playing, let's say I'm playing Ash or Widow or Soldier or Cass or whatever, and my tank is just getting mega diffed, and I try to take aggressive angles or I try to take aggressive fights in order to create an advantage. I just get hyper punished every single time, like no matter how passive or aggressive I'm playing.
I'm guessing it's the angles that you're taking. If we looked at how you generally autopilot positioned here, it was very much forward, aggressive, closer or stacked with your tank, and not as creative in how you're around the fight. So if your tank is getting giga gapped and dying off of cooldown, the enemy team is probably getting bloodlust because they're like, hey, we'll just run over and kill this guy again, which is opening up the flanks.
So playing off of my tank more often than not.
Yes. Let your tank feed. Let your tank feed, and the enemy team is going to focus them down and get the kill, and then die on the left and die on the right and die behind.
Okay.
Yep. I've noticed it before where a tank will get giga gapped the entire game and they'll still win because they were so focused on just beating up on the giga feeding tank that they failed to look around, and that's where you punish them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
It's an opportunity. Remember, your job is to create space as well. But when you're playing DPS, your space is not always on main. Your space might be on the left or it might be on the right or whatever angle or flank that makes the most sense for your character that you're playing. And that applies to all your characters. Make sense? It's a good question.
No, that definitely makes sense.
Okay.
I think,
any other questions?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. All right, mate. Well,